To speak with our guest for today. I am joined by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, for discussion on the benefits of President Tinubu's economic diplomacy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's always a great privilege to be with you, my dear sister. Good evening to you and good evening to all of our esteemed viewers.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you on Politics Tonight. Now, let's start with President Tinubu's administration, which is 4 months old. How will you describe the challenge of governance so far?
Well, certainly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office with the fullest grasp of the challenges that lay before him. He understood that he was coming in to the twin troubles of a petroleum motor spirit subsidy that had gulped the nation's resources, put us in a position where we had to engage in massive borrowing just to fulfill our most basic obligations, which undermined our ability to make the investments we needed to make across sectors to grow our economy. Economic growth indices had stagnated. We had, of course, a foreign exchange regime that was totally polarized. We are still contending with that, even though we have seen major moves over the course of the last several weeks and months to deal conclusively with that. Including a major step taken today by the Central Bank of Nigeria, but I'm sure we will get into that later on in the program. So again, you have some of the challenges that we knew that we would anticipate running into. Then you had some challenges that you could not have known you were going to run into, such as the crisis in Niger Republic, such as some of the other challenges we've seen with respect to what's going on in Gabon. And some of the geopolitical tensions around the world that are having direct impact on our, on things like energy prices globally, on things like food prices globally. When you look at what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, and of course, most recently in the Gaza Strip. So there are so many factors in terms of some of the challenges we would have anticipated and would not have anticipated. But ultimately, I think there is a clear consensus on the part of our international partners that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken all the right steps at just the right time to bring Nigeria back from the brink. Now, the question is about what we're going to do next to build on the remarkable and bold initiatives which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already embarked upon in the early days of his administration.
All right. So the president has embarked on economic diplomacy to attract foreign investments to the country. How will you describe it?
Well, I have been in a unique position to be in the room when His Excellency Mr. President has been engaging with investors from around the world. And what has really struck me as a nearby observer of what I saw was the excitement and the urgency with which investors stream into the presence of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You know, the business community, the investor community, is a tight one. The world is a big place, but sometimes it shrinks into very small spaces. And you see that when you see, the presence of investors from around the world at various summits, which His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has led. And one of the things that we've seen is what we campaigned on, which is that many of the investors have a direct or indirect history with His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he served as the executive governor of Lagos State. Many remember that, 23, 24 years ago, there was a governor in Lagos State who was telling international investors, if you come to Lagos, you will not only prosper, but you will thrive beyond even your wildest expectations. And many of the investors who listened to him at that time have now seen that what he promised them then has come to fruition. And so when he comes to engage the world as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the word spreads around very quickly that this man has a history We have a history working with him, and we believe that he's going to do exactly what he says he's going to do when he says that Nigeria is the next major investment destination in the world. So we have benefited massively from that. I was I think I would say maybe even taken aback, really, that when we were in New York City for the UN General Assembly, on the sidelines of that, you may recall that there was an investor roundtable organized in part by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, where American industrialists, sat at the same table with Nigerian industrialists, chaired by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And on the sidelines of that summit, there were one-on-one meetings taken by President Tinubu with some of the global CEOs of major firms, such as Chevron in the energy sector, such as Siemens in the healthcare and technology sector, as well as energy and power. And when I was in the room, what I saw was a real eagerness to know what the opportunities were and to see what was on the table from the Nigerian side with respect to how they might make significant investments in the Nigerian economy for the mutual benefit of both parties. So you see the interest. There's no question that there's the interest. But there's generally been a fascination with the Nigerian economy because of our large, our large market size, our youthful, demographic dividend that companies are ready to take advantage of. But now it's being matched with a president who is a business mogul, who is an accountant and a man of numbers, who is a man of a proven track record with respect to how we can attract investments and create an environment in which those investments can thrive on a sustainable basis. He's proven it in Lagos, and Nigerians, as a result of that, investors are listening to him when he talks about the entire nation. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, what we're seeing is the president really taking advantage of every possible opportunity. He's not only, extending and advancing the message of investment in Nigeria and on the prospects and promise of investing in Nigeria at investment summits. He's taking that message into bilateral meetings. He's taking that message into meetings between him and other heads of state from across multiple continents from around the world, saying that, look, I have studied your economy. From our president. He's telling other presidents he's studied their economies. He knows where they have comparative advantage, where they have high-level skills and experience in certain sectors of their economies. And he's asking the right questions and giving the right account of what is possible in Nigeria with respect to how their companies can come into the Nigerian Federation and prosper in a way that's mutually beneficial, not just for them, but for Nigerian workers and the Nigerian economy at large. So these are the conversations I've seen. If you look at, for example, an engagement we had in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sat with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and was very clear about what the prospects could be with respect to the fact that South African companies have already thrived in the Nigerian economic system across multiple sectors, whether it's in the retail shopping, whether it's in telecommunications, and others. So the message Mr. President sent is, look, that he understood that the South Africans have decades-long experience in mining, that they have decades-long experience in minerals processing, that now is the time to leverage on that experience, on that technical know-how and capacity to be able to come into Nigeria and take advantage of the opportunities presented by a largely untapped solid mineral sector. And fortunately for us, we have a go-getter as a Minister of Solid Minerals at the moment in the person of Chief Dele Alake. So there are a lot of opportunities that the President sees, but there are many opportunities that many others have not seen in terms of knowing which country to engage concerning which sector, that the president fortunately does see and is now taking advantage of by presenting this vision to foreign heads of state so that they can mobilize their private companies to come into Nigeria and do business with Nigerians for the benefit of Nigerian workers and for the benefit of the Nigerian economy. There's really a lot to look forward to concerning Mr. President's very bold economic diplomatic mission around the world.
So which of these trips do you consider as most engaging and fruitful for the country?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Which of these trips do you consider as most engaging and fruitful for the country?
It would be very difficult to choose one. Obviously, it was well reported on our behalf that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had secured pledges of over $14 billion on the sidelines of the G20 in New Delhi, India. That was carried by Bloomberg, by Reuters, by several international press, and obviously our domestic media. It would be difficult to say that one is more important than the other, but I would say that the ability of Mr. President to quickly then move directly from New Delhi into Abu Dhabi, where agreements across sectors were being dealt with between the two heads of state, and then moving from there almost within a week to New York City on the sidelines of UNGA, and having the opportunity to the scale of business. So I would say that all of it matters. All of it is important to as individual puzzle pieces that fit together into this larger puzzle that Mr. President is looking at. I would also say that there's more down the road. You may be aware of the welcoming of the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, which is a direct result of an engagement that Mr. President had with him during the UN General Assembly, on the sidelines of G20 rather. And we expect that that will be another platform on which we can build further collaboration between Nigerian industrialists and German industrialists for the development of multiple sectors of the Nigerian economy and the creation of jobs and the creation of new wealth and tax revenue for the Nigerian Federation. So there is a lot to look at. If you look at the fact that Mr. President has only been just a few countries, I mean, we've only been to a handful of countries in the first few months of the administration, and you look at the gravity of what he already achieved with just a few visits, how much over the course of years, when we'll go nation to nation to nation to nation, what will he be attracting from each of these nations in terms of concrete, on-the-ground deliverable investments? I think Nigerians have a lot to be excited about.
All right, so when should Nigerians really expect that all of these achievements and efforts come to fruition? Well,
certainly Nigerians will expect just a larger scale of what they saw in Lagos. When you had new industries coming in, employing Lagosians, providing more revenues that obviously had been even further bolstered by the fact that technology had been introduced to create an efficient tax collection and tax administration system in the state. We are doing the same right now at the federal level through the work of the Tax Policy Reform Committee. And obviously, the FIRS had already done a lot of legwork in terms of what it's going to do to fully maximize the revenues it's already accruing. But in addition to all of that, I think the key thing is when you create jobs and you create more revenue for the state, when you have quality administrators like what Lagos had under Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and now Nigeria will have under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what we can expect is that as our tax revenues grow by virtue of these new investments that are going to be coming in from around the world, you are going to now have more wealth on the part of the federal administration and state governments, of course, to be able to fund railway projects, seaport and airport projects, power plants, and other critical infrastructure that will obviously further expand our economy and grow our ability to deliver for our citizens. So that's one expectation. The other expectation is obviously the manner with which we can deal with the issue of poverty reduction and alleviation, and hopefully eventually eradication. How do we do that? When we can provide millions of new jobs through the mass intervention of private capital, which runs in consonance with the National Economic Development Plan over the course of the next several years that was introduced by President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. It was always envisaged that now that we are implementing the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and now that we're expecting over $1 trillion of new investment as a result of that agreement from foreign jurisdictions, we are now in a position to do our part to ensure that we get the lion's share of that new investment coming from abroad because of the comparative advantage we enjoy in terms of market size, in terms of the demographic dividend that I mentioned earlier on, with 70% of our massive population being made up of brilliant, industrious, and really very innovative young people. And we have what it takes to be the hub of investment on the African continent. Now, are we competing with South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya, and Ghana, and other countries? Absolutely. But are we uniquely positioned to outbid them in the course of the race for capital with our advantages? Absolutely. And so this is what His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the track record of proving he can do and will do now as president.
All right, so before we move on, let's quickly talk about this. Many analysts say this noise about President Tinubu's academic record may affect the government's image in the global community. How worried are you?
Oh, I'm not worried at all. I've never been worried about this, and I believe many Nigerians are not concerned with this. I believe Nigerians are concerned with the same thing that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is concerned with, which is how we can rapidly restructure and reform our economy, which is how we can rapidly unify our people toward a common cause of building a great nation for the benefit of all of our children and grandchildren. And I believe the focus of the entire country, or most of the country, with the exception of just a select group of partisan actors in the country, is how we can deal with, bringing down the rate of inflation, attacking poverty with new investments and new job opportunities for our people, with how we can rapidly expand our infrastructure across sectors so that we can create wealth in the process of building a national infrastructure base that would accommodate further investments, which Mr. President is obviously actively courting from around the world. This is the focus of the president. Everything else is a distraction. The president has been clear from the beginning that the focus on politics passed with the election, and he is in full support of any political contender or political actor taking up their constitutional right to approach the courts, the Supreme Court in this case, to make their case. We believe that our case has been settled at the level of the presidential tribunal, and we believe that we will be victorious once again at the level of the Supreme Court. But we fully respect their ability to go to the Supreme Court. The content of the allegations that are being spread around are simply malicious attempts at smearing the persona of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Even our contenders understand that there's no substance to it. The British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, had just come out with its own independent fact-checking investigation in which it found that the notion of certificate forgery was totally unproven. So we don't really know what else there is to this in terms of motive if it is not just another attempt to smear the person of the president. But look, the president is the same man who won the election in February. He's the same man who won at the level of the tribunal. He's the same man who will win at the Supreme Court. and we believe he is the same man who will successfully deliver on the renewed hope agenda and will be reelected by the grace of God in 2027 when he presents himself as the candidate of the governing All Progressives Congress on the record of what he is achieving as president in his first term. This is what we believe, this is our focus, and nothing is going to distract us.
All right, so let's talk about new reforms at home. I mean, despite efforts by the president, things are still tough across the country. Things are really, really tough. So what key reforms are being made towards economic recovery?
You know, my dear sister, it is absolutely right and appropriate to acknowledge the fact that our people are hurting. The president, in almost all of his public remarks with regard to the economy and his reforms on the economy, he has been very clear about the fact that he understands in full what Nigerians are facing on a daily basis with respect to rising food prices. Obviously, the energy cost that has gone up as a result of the removal of the fuel subsidy, and obviously some of the other challenges with respect to stagnating wages. Now, we thank Nigerians for being patient with us, and we ask that as we get to conclude the negotiations concerning the new minimum wage, which will go a long way in satisfying the immediate economic pressures being faced by our people, that Nigerians are patient with us. We are working toward that conclusion, and we believe that once we get to that conclusion, Nigerians will be happy that indeed they were patient with the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now look, with respect to economic reforms, I think it's really important to understand the impact and role of what we saw just recently with the Central Bank of Nigeria lifting the ban on access to foreign exchange on importers dealing in 43 different very major classes of import. When we talk about iron products, you talk about steel products, you talk about wood products, you talk about cosmetics, you talk about so many other, we're talking about 43 different food items, rice, even cement, and many, many others that is now in the public domain. By removing by lifting that ban, in effect, the link to the ability of the citizen of our country to be able to more affordably and more easily live day to day, even within the ambit of their current wages. That has to do with the fact that you are removing billions of dollars worth of demand pressure on the parallel market. All of the heavy lifting and the hard work that Mr. President put in place to work to unify the exchange rates very early on in the administration had been distorted by the fact that you had this excessive demand on the parallel market where most Nigerians have gone to, of course, access foreign exchange for travel, for business, and for many other, unique needs that they're confronted with or that they require. You have this massive demand on that section of the foreign exchange market as a result of the fact that you have all of these importers dealing in all of these major classes of items, not being able to access on the traditional foreign exchange market and having to resort to the parallel as a result of the ban. With the lift of the ban, that's obviously going to massively reduce demand pressure on the parallel market, meaning that you are going to see a massive flow of dollars into the foreign exchange market. We are also happy with the fact that just within 24 hours of that major move by the central bank under the leadership of Dr. Yemi Cardoso, we have now seen a massive inflow of dollars, and what we have seen also is Bloomberg today reporting on the fact that for the first time in 3 weeks, we have seen a reversal in terms of the trend line on the rate of naira value to the dollar in the parallel market. So that's no coincidence. So our focus now is making sure that those reforms continue to trend us, to move us trending in the right direction, and also to ensure that Nigerians understand that this move on lifting the ban on accessing foreign exchange by the importers of these various items is coming as a sequel to a move that was really understated and underreported, in my opinion, that took place in August by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which had to do with the lifting of the ban on the accessing of foreign exchange, or the supply of foreign exchange, rather, to bureau de change operators by the Central Bank of Nigeria. You'd recall that for a number of years, there had been essentially an exclusion of the bureau de change operators, BDCs, by the CBN in terms of the supply of Forex to them, as a result of various policy initiatives which proved, wrong-headed under the leadership of the previous, previous governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, what has happened now is that with BDCs now being supplied with foreign exchange, with U.S. dollars by the Central Bank of Nigeria, on the basis of an agreement that says that they must adhere to a 2.5% rate of variance on the previous day's dollar value in the parallel market. What it now allows for is a situation where you have CBN supplying dollars to the BDCs in the parallel market, and that is now being supported by the recent move to reduce demand pressure on the parallel market, meaning you have the inflow of dollars not just from the market by the operators in the market itself, but now by the CBN pushing dollars to all classes of the foreign exchange market. So the end all be all, the end of that, the summary of that is to say that we are doing everything possible to ensure that the exchange rates between the naira and the dollar are fully unified, number one, and that number two, in the process of doing so, the market settles at a drastically lower number than where it is right now, where you had all these distortions as a result of the excessive demand pressure on the parallel market as a result of the ban on access to foreign exchange by the importers of those 43 items, which obviously has now been eradicated as a problem with the lifting of that ban. So there's a lot to look forward to with respect to stabilization of the foreign exchange market, the unification, and obviously what that, on the larger scheme of things, is going to mean for the ability of investors to come in with a reliable exchange rate and a reliable access to foreign exchange so that they know they can bring their money in and swiftly take their money out, almost with no regard for how big the money is or how small the money is. Before now, because of the previous monetary policies being pursued by the previous leadership of the Central Bank of Nigeria, investors from around the world didn't want to bring their money in because they weren't sure they would get their money out. We saw this with the airlines. We saw this with many captains of industry across multiple sectors. Mr. President and CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso are dealing decisively with that problem, and Nigerians are going to benefit with the massive influx of not just foreign exchange, but the confidence of investors to now invest as a result of the fact that they know that they can access that foreign exchange. There's a lot to look forward to. The more you understand, the more you appreciate what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing in terms of repositioning our economy towards sustainable growth into the years and decades ahead.
All right. Mr. Ngelale, let's take a break. You're watching Politics Tonight. To take a break now, and I will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I've been speaking with a special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, as we focus on the benefits of President Tinubu's economic diplomacy. All right, because you tried to touch on this earlier, so let's get it out of the way. The CBN recently lifted foreign exchange restrictions on 43 items banned since 2015. How will such monetary policy reforms lead to a better deal for citizens?
Well, certainly the fact that you will have a reduction in the rate of inflation as the months go on as a result of the reduction on the demand pressures on the dollar reduce. Those demand pressures on the dollar reduce. Obviously, that will kind of loosen up the squeeze that was placed on the naira. That led to the constant slide of the naira in the parallel market, which obviously had become kind of the go-to hub for where most importers and where most citizens of our country would have to go to exchange for their foreign exchange, exchange their naira for the foreign exchange they wanted to use. So you're going to see a reversal in the trends on inflation. That's going to be very, very key in all of this. Secondly, that should have a direct impact on things like food prices, the ability of Nigerians to access basic commodities should become easier over the course of the next weeks and months as the reduction in demand pressure on the dollar and the parallel market begins to kind of take hold. We should also expect that you're going to see a massive improvement in terms of the ability of states and the federal government, of course, and the investments they want to make. They're going to be able to see how Nigerian citizens are going to be able to witness how you're going to be getting more value for your money when you're engaging contractors to build roads, engaging contractors to build ports, engaging contractors to build broadband cables and power lines and all the things that ultimately will make our economy bigger and stronger and make the livelihoods of our people easier and the standard of living of our people much better. So that's going to have an impact. When the unified exchange rate settles at the rate which we believe the market will set it at, then you're going to now have a situation where all the current rates of expense, when you talk about government contracting and the like, all of that is going to come down, and that's going to have a major impact on, obviously the ability of government to provide more services at a cheaper cost for the benefit of Nigerians. Then I think furthermore, when you look at some of the fact that you're now going to have the importers of these items being able to access foreign exchange at the unified rate, that's obviously going to have its own carry-on, pass-on effect to the end user, to the consumer. When you have to pay less, to bring something in, something you had to pay more for. Let me just break this down quickly. If I'm importing, for example, a toothpick, and I have to go to the parallel market, which is congested and saturated with excessive demand, I'm going to have to pay more for the dollar to be able to import that toothpick from wherever I'm importing it from, meaning that when I sell that toothpick to the end user in Nigeria, I'm going to charge the Nigerian citizen more for that toothpick. Now, as a result of the reversal, as a result of the lifting of the ban, when the unified exchange rate settles at a number far lower than what we see on the parallel market that we saw over the course of the last several weeks, which is already in decline, moving back to what it should be, then you're going to now have these people bringing in these products obviously at a rate that is more affordable for the end user, and the cost at which they secure their dollars to bring that in will be less, and as a result the final end price for the Nigerian consumer will be less, meaning that household incomes will be able to purchase more with less as a result of this move in the interim. Now, the goal obviously is not to just encourage importation. Obviously, it is a transit. It's a transit plan. It's a transitory, a kind of a transition that we are undertaking, moving from import dependence into local manufacturing and local production. But we have to reduce the pressure that is on the naira by obviously ridding the excessive demand for dollars that was existing in the parallel market. We have now done that, and we believe that Nigerians in the immediate term will be able to access all of those items. You're talking about, like I said, food and cement and so many other household goods that we use on a daily basis, cosmetics and many, many others. If you look at that list, you're now looking at accessing those items at a reduced cost. That can only help Nigerian families. So that should lead to somewhat of a better deal for Nigerians, at least in the short term, as we transit toward, aggressively pursuing local production.
All right. So let's talk about infrastructure, highly critical for economic recovery. What has the administration done in this regard in its first few months in office?
Well, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very passionate about infrastructure delivery, not just with words, but with action. Again, you go back to his record as governor, that's what you would have seen, the reconstruction of Lagos State, which was ongoing through the blueprint being implemented by his successors. And it's going to be no different in Nigeria. Obviously, there was a massive improvement in our infrastructure base under President Muhammadu Buhari across railways, seaports, airports, and roadways and the like. Now we want to double down on that. But how do we do that? A major function of how we're going to do that is by really bringing in unprecedented levels of private sector finance to be able to mobilize toward the development of public infrastructure. Already, obviously, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari really started the kind of mobilizing private capital for public sector investment with the tax credit road scheme, where private companies brought their own money up front to build roads in jurisdictions that were strategic to their businesses in exchange for calibrated tax relief. That was one. But what we are talking about now is something much greater and much larger in scope. It involves, the massive mobilization of private capital from around the world to fund private infrastructure projects on the basis of a predictable and verifiable, kind of a reimbursement program. So, for example, look at the most recent major super project that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has really just gotten to the conclusion of signing on with respect to the Lagos to Abuja superhighway. Why is this important? You're going to have a major superhighway between Lagos and Abuja, which is essentially going to allow for travel time to be reduced between the commercial capital and the administrative capital of our country from approximately 12 hours currently by road between the two locations down to about 4 hours at the speed of 120 kilometers an hour consistently over that span. So that is being funded, 470 kilometer superhighway that is going to be built with concrete technology, ensuring that we can double the span of life on that road, for example, from the traditional, asphalt paved roadways that we're used to seeing constructed across the country, with the adoption of concrete across multiple road sectors across our country under the leadership of His Excellency Honorable Minister Dave Umahi, the Minister of Works. The aggressive adoption of cement, which is being supported and fully backed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is also going to allow for, a sustainable infrastructure base. It's one thing to build new roads across the country, but if they're spoiling in 10 years and you have to now re-up that investment after 10 years, it obviously makes more sense to do it once and do it for 25, 50 years as against the 10 years. That is what the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is focused on, with projects such as the Lagos to Abuja superhighway, which is set to be completed before the end of the first term of His Excellency, Mr. President. You are going to be seeing such projects coming up around the country, not just in the road sector, but also in rail lines and also in power plants, such as the Abuja Independent Power Project that was flagged off by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his first days in office, which is the first of three major IPPs on the Abuja to Kaduna to Kano gas pipeline, AKK gas pipeline corridor. Directly fed by that gas pipeline, you have three major IPPs coming in at an average of about 1,350 megawatts each, combined over 4,000. Over about 4,000 megawatts approximately between the three, one in Abuja, one in Kaduna, and one in Kano. But Mr. President flagged off the one in Abuja. So we are starting very aggressively. Already the discussion around, for example, our refineries finally will move from discussion into manifest deliverable, into manifest delivery. That has to do with the December deadline given by Mr. President to the reconstructing contractor at the Port Harcourt refinery, Phase 1. So Mr. President is intent and determined on ensuring that he is in a position to open that facility for use by the grace of God sometime around the end of this year. So there is a lot in terms of infrastructure, and there's a lot more that will be announced in the days and weeks and months to come.
All right, then. So we've also seen a flurry of activities, or rather a flurry of announcements of the president's new appointments by your office. Are these appointments truly the best?
If there's one area where even his greatest detractors cannot question the credentials of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it is his penchant for identifying and empowering talent. When it comes to personnel, there is no mate, there is no equal in the history of this country with respect to talent identification and talent cultivation than His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's no different with the slate of appointments that you've been seeing me announce across multiple sectors of our economy. In fact, it was just today that we announced His Excellency Mr. President's approval of the appointment of several new chief executive officers across multiple agencies and parastatals under the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. It speaks to the fact that the President is not afraid to take bold decisions to ensure that the Renewed Hope agenda is successfully carried out as efficiently and as effectively as he has envisaged. So he has empowered his cabinet to headhunt and search out for the best talent across sectors. And these are the talented individuals, competent professionals that Mr. President has approved the appointment of. Just the other day, he approved the appointment of multiple parastatals and agencies under the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Communications and Digital Economy that is going to deal with the ability of our administration to rapidly scale up the growth and expansion of our broadband cable network to deepen broadband internet penetration across all rural and urban locations across our country over the next few years. It deals with our ability to develop new innovations, research and development oriented innovations across that will have an impact on multiple sectors of our economy, including education, including defense, including oil and gas, including electric power provision and solar power provision, and many others. So His Excellency Mr. President is someone who he takes his time, he does it right, he doesn't rush things, but when he does it right. And that's the leadership we need, and that's the leadership Mr. President is providing. And I'm sure that we will see in the coming days and weeks ahead the announcement of more appointments, critical appointments across multiple sectors that will further give greater impetus to the delivery and execution of the Renewed Hope agenda promised by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the campaigns by which, on which he is absolutely determined to deliver for the benefit of Nigerians and the Nigerian economy and society at large.
It's been an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Ngelale, Special Advisor to Media and Publicity. Thank you so much for always finding time to join us in politics tonight. Thank you so much. Please have a great weekend.
It's always great to be with you. I look forward to joining you once again. Thank you very much, and God bless you.